everyone, and welcome back to another chapter of From Ashes to a New Beginning, written by me, Stacey Holt. Artwork was by Pastelkittygoreart. As for my voice actors, Diz will be voicing Adrien, Cat Noir, and Mr. Bug. Catherine will be voicing Natalie and Mayura. Obrazekio will be voicing Gabriel and Hawkmoth. And I will be voicing Marinette, Ladybug, and the Narrator. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and comment. Also, hit that notification button to let you know when another video is coming out. And also don't forget to check out my voice actors because they're amazing. Anyways, now, back to the chapter. Mother? Ladybug turned her head in shock.
Did you say mother?
Hawkmoth said. Mayura's eyes widened, seeing Cat Noir take his attention away from her and focus more on Hawkmoth and the woman who lay behind the glass. Though she still couldn't do anything, she was still bound by Ladybug's yo-yo. Cat turned toward Ladybug and saw her shocked expression. He didn't want her to know. Too late for that. Cat turned back to Hawkmoth and grit his teeth.
You killed Marinette. You hid Mother from me all these years. You acclimatized people for self-gain. You were a terrible father to me.
Cat glared.
Son, I only wanted to bring her back. To bring her back to us. To you.
Stop! You're a selfish, evil man. You're still trying to manipulate me!
Cat yelled, running toward Hawkmoth. Cat! Ladybug called over. Cat Noir gripped his hand, still wielding his cataclysm. Hawkmoth dodged his attack, though Cat Noir twirled around, not letting him go this time.
I'm not sure why you're so upset. I never killed Marinette. You're being delusional, son. You need to calm down and see that we need to bring your mother back.
Hawkmoth tried to explain, dodging Cat Noir's continuous attacks.
I'll never give you the Miraculous, even if you bring her back.
Cat Noir stopped the attack and glared at Hawkmoth.
Even if you did bring Mom back, I'm sure she would hate you.
Watch what you say.
Am I wrong? Would she agree with what you have done for all these years? Would she agree with how you've treated me? Would she agree with how she was brought back?
Cat grit his teeth.
She will get over it. She will be happy to see her son again.
Hawkmoth glared.
No, you're the delusional one. You're only doing this so you can be happy. There would be a price to pay to bring her back. Are you willing to pay that?
Cat asked.
I would pay any price.
Hawkmoth said, glancing over at Emily. Cat walked over to his mother and looked down at her. Her body was still lying within its case, as if she was in some sort of coma state.
Is she dead? Is she in a coma? Why is she like this?
Cat asked.
She's in a coma. We found the Miraculous together. She somehow figured out how to fuse the peacock and the butterfly Miraculous together. She wasn't strong enough to withhold the power. It backfired. She fell into her coma, and it broke the peacock Miraculous in the process.
Hawkmoth explained.
We were perfect together. We had everything. Why even use them?
Cat asked.
No matter how much you have, people always want more.
Hawkmoth said. He's right, Cat. People always want more. They always want things they can't have. He won't stop until he has our Miraculous. You need to take it now. Ladybug called over. Cat turned to her and nodded. Cat turned his attention back to his mother, looking at her through the glass.
I'm sorry, Mom.
He sighed. Cat turned around and was caught off guard by Hawkmoth rushing toward him. He dodged Hawkmoth's attack with his cane and tried to use his cataclysm on it to leave him defenseless, but Hawkmoth jumped back. Cat used his free hand to try and punch Hawkmoth as he ran toward him, but Hawkmoth smirked and dodged it ever so gracefully and knocked his feet out from beneath him. As the air was knocked out of him, he could hear Ladybug yell out his name and yell for him to be careful. Cat looked up to try and see where Hawkmoth had gone, but was met with Hawkmoth's cane hitting him directly in the sternum, knocking what little breath he had left out of him. He gasped for breath, and he grabbed his father's staff, disintegrating it.
You think that'll stop me from hurting you? You think I won't hurt you just because you're my son? I told you, I will do anything to bring her back.
Hawkmoth glared. Cat laid on his back, staring up at his father in pain. He watched as his father lifted his foot and plunged it on his arm, holding him down. Cat Noir grit his teeth in pain from the weight that was being pressed in on his arm. It felt like it was about to snap. He felt his father's foot move, and watched his father leaning down to grab his ring. His eyes widened, and he clenched his fist, yelling for another cataclysm.
Cataclysm! I'm not a kid anymore. I can call upon my power as many times as you can.
Cat smirked, seeing his father's angered face. Hawkmoth stood up, and instead of walking away in defeat, he felt himself getting kicked across the floor.
When will you learn to put others' needs above your own? You're selfish!
Hawkmoth yelled. Cat gripped his side with his free hand where his father had kicked him, feeling the soreness in his ribcage. He turned to see Ladybug still at a stalemate. She couldn't do anything. She was having to keep Mayura at bay with her yo-yo. This fight was up to him.
You're going to jail,
Cat said, struggling to get to his feet.
Jail? You can barely stand.
Hawkmoth smirked.
If I can't defeat you by fighting, then I'll defeat you by killing your spirit.
Cat said, already feeling the pain in his heart starting to rise.
This feeling of dread and overwhelming regret and sadness, I can feel it.
Hawkmoth smiled.
Yeah, I know. It's me.
Cat frowned, finally letting his emotions out. Cat lifted his hand that had his cataclysm and stared at Hawkmoth. Hawkmoth saw Cat Noir getting ready to run toward him, though the air around him was completely different. Hawkmoth swallowed and saw a white butterfly flying by and snatched it. He folded his hands around it, creating an Akuma. Hawkmoth smirked and sent it toward Cat Noir.
Cat Noir, watch out!
Ladybug yelled. Hawkmoth's eyes widened, and his smile grew wider as the Akuma grew closer and closer. Though Cat Noir walked toward the Akuma, but instead of the Akuma flying into him, Cat Noir grabbed it with his cataclysm, destroying the butterfly into pieces. Hawkmoth stood in shock at how his son's whole personality changed.
See, son? You're just like me. Like father. Like son. We were meant to bring her back. Join me.
Hawkmoth pleaded, stepping backwards until he felt the coffin behind him. Hawkmoth turned back around, but was met with Cat Noir standing directly in front of him, his piercing green eyes sternly looking into his.
I am nothing like you.
Cat glared.
Cataclysm!
Cat said. Cat lifted his hand and was about to grab his father, destroying all of the abuse he had to deal with through the years, destroying all of the bad memories, destroying all of the dinners alone, destroying all of the letdowns his father had done to him.
Cat, stop!
Ladybug pleaded. But he stopped an inch away, hearing Ladybug's voice in the distance, her sweet, almost crying voice. She didn't want him to hurt Hawkmoth. She didn't want him to hurt Gabriel, his father, even though he had done such terrible things. He couldn't do it. Cat glared at him, seeing how weak he really was. He was a weak man who manipulated others to try and get what he wanted. He manipulated others as a civilian. He manipulated people as a supervillain as well.
This Miraculous was such a perfect fit for you, Father. You're too much of a coward to do your own dirty work. You blamed your akumatized victims for not getting our Miraculous. What is your excuse?
Cat said, ripping Hawkmoth's Miraculous off with his free hand. Ladybug stood in silence and finally felt her yo-yo go limp. She looked down at Mayura, who had finally stopped struggling. Mayura had given up. Cat Noir walked back over to Ladybug, leaving Gabriel leaning onto the coffin in his own self-pity.
Are you okay?
Ladybug asked, seeing that Cat Noir's face showed nothing but regret, pain, and sorrow.
I'm fine. Natalie, give me your Miraculous.
Cat said, kneeling down and staring at her. Mayura looked at him in the eyes for a few seconds and turned her head away. Cat groaned and grabbed her Miraculous as well with his free hand and then stood back up. After Natalie de-transformed, she rushed to Gabriel's side to comfort him.
Here. Put them in the miracle box, where they'll be safe.
Cat sighed, handing her the butterfly and peacock Miraculous.
Thanks,
Ladybug said, taking them. Cat started back toward the elevator lift when he felt her hand grip his arm. He turned his head around to find Ladybug crying.
What's wrong?
He said, wide-eyed.
Adrien,
She began.
Yes?
Are you leaving?
She asked, feeling a tear slip down her cheek. He turned toward his father and thought for a moment. Ladybug turned to look at Gabriel and Natalie, who were still standing near the coffin.
Wait! We have the Miraculous. No one but us knew who Hawkmoth was. Your father and Natalie don't have to go to jail,
Ladybug said, wiping her tears.
I appreciate it, Opie, but I can't be around him. He lied to me for so long. My mother was here. I have a lot to think about.
Cat said.
So, you're leaving?
Ladybug frowned.
I prevented the future that I came from. I know Luka still loves you. Why don't you give him another chance?
Cat sighed, walking toward the elevator again. Cat found a useless object lying on the ground and picked it up with his hand to get rid of his cataclysm, and then blew away the ashes. He watched the ashes blow away until he could no longer see them anymore. Should he be like the ashes he causes, to disappear? He only brings destruction after all. He did his mission he set out to do. He created piles and piles of ashes everywhere he went. Her home burned down. He was there. The fire at his own home. The fire that killed her. No matter what he tried, he couldn't get her out of his mind. How she looked when he laid her on the ground. How he felt when he found out she wasn't breathing. The lifeless expression she had. It haunted him. Ladybug watched him walk toward the elevator and pressed the button once he stepped onto it. She felt the tears start building once again. She clenched her fists and ran over to him. The elevator started to rise, so she pulled out her yo-yo and zipped her way up to him. She zipped herself up too fast and accidentally flew into him. They collided with a thud, and he looked down at her after helping her back up.
Are you alright? You know, you could have just waited for me to get off, and then you could have got on.
Cat said.
No.
Alright? I mean, you could have got on first then.
Cat replied.
No, Cat. I don't want Luka. If you came from the future, you should know how I feel,
Ladybug said with a blush across her face.
But we haven't even started dating in this timeline. How could you even like me yet?
Cat said. A blush started to appear.
Because I've always liked you, silly. I love Adrien, who's always been kind to me, who's always been there for me, who helps others before he helps himself. I love Cat Noir. I love my partner, who always has my back. who never backs down, who I rely on more than myself sometimes. You're my other half, and I need you to stay with me. So, please, don't leave. Ladybug cried, pulling Cat Noir into an embrace. Cat Noir looked down at Ladybug in shock and smiled, hugging her back.
I'm sorry. I can't be with you. Every time I look at you, I see you dying. I see the you I couldn't save.
Cat said, holding her tighter. Cat, you're gonna lose me now, please. Ladybug pleaded, leaning out to look at him.
Princess, please don't cry for me. I just need some time.
Cat forced a smile. Promise me. Ladybug narrowed her gaze.
Promise you what?
Promise me that's what you need. If time is what you need, I'll give you that. But please, come back. I'll wait for you. Ladybug pleaded. Cat sighed and leaned his forehead against hers as he closed his eyes. Cat, please tell me that's all you need and you're going to come back. She pressed on.
Give me time and I'll be back.
Cat said.
I just need time to process my father, Natalie, and Mom.
Take all the time you need, Ladybug said comfortingly. Cat opened his eyes slowly and saw her smiling at him. He glanced down at her lips and leaned in, and slowly kissed her lips. He had never kissed her as Ladybug before, and somehow, he felt his face radiate heat once again under his mask. He felt her mask touch his own mask. He leaned out after a few seconds, and saw her looking at him with a face full of red. He felt her wrap her hands around his neck and pull him toward her. He felt her pull his lips back to hers, and they closed their eyes again. A few seconds later, Cat leaned out and looked down at Ladybug. Ladybug looked down at her feet, remembering who it was she was actually kissing. He smiled and placed one more kiss on her forehead.
When I get back, I asked you this in the future.
He began. Ladybug looked up and saw him blushing still. She didn't know if it was from the question he was going to ask, or if it was from the kiss.
Well, I asked if you wanted to move in together.
He said. Move in together? She asked, surprised.
Yeah, you're right. This was a little sudden in this timeline. Never mind, just forget it.
What did I say? Ladybug smiled.
Huh?
He said, turning back to look at her. What was my response to your question in the future? I guess when you get back, that will also be my answer. Ladybug smiled, kissing his cheek. Cat blinked and saw her smiling at him. He hugged her, noticing that he accidentally caught her off guard.
I promise I'll come back, Bugaboo. You couldn't resist my cat puns anyhow.
He laughed. Ah, yes, the amazing, perfect cat puns, huh? She teased.
Ooh, yeah. You better get some practice before I come back. That was clawful, m'lady.
He winked. Ugh, Cat. She rolled her eyes. Before they knew it, Adrien had packed his bags and was headed for the U.S. He didn't give Marinette, his father, or anyone a reason why he wanted to go to the U.S. except they had really nice cheap homes there, which made him laugh because they really weren't. Anytime someone asked Adrien why that was funny, he would simply say that his real dad said that one time. Everyone would look at him in a weird way, but they shrugged it off. Before Adrien left, he told Marinette the date of the fire that would burn down her home, and come to find out, she caught Lila lurking outside of her home with some matches. She had no idea that Lila hated her that much. She knew she was crazy, but never knew she would attempt to murder her and her family.
She confessed to the police that she thought that Marinette was Ladybug, thinking that would justify her actions. When that didn't work, she tried to lie her way out of it, though the jury had already decided her fate. Cat Noir and Ladybug may have also had a major influence in her case as well. Marinette, Ladybug, let Adrien keep Plagg. She gave him the recipe to know how to turn into Astral Cat, so he could always return to her when he was ready. Marinette was sad to see Adrien leave, but knew her kitty would return to her one day. After all, he made a promise. They were partners. Partners who make promises always keep their promises. After what she saw, she knew he would keep his promise. What Marinette didn't know was that he did all of that to keep a promise. To keep the promise he made to her parents about keeping her safe. So of course, he would keep a simple promise of coming back to her. He loved her. He would return to his lady. He was her knight in shining armor, and she was his princess. On the bright side, the ashes he caused along the way brought them a new beginning. When he would return, they could start a new life together. Their new beginning together as a real couple.
Wait for me, princess.
Whew. What a roller coaster of a ride we've been on for, I think it's been 2 years. But oh my gosh, I loved every single second of it. I loved writing this. I loved voicing it. I loved all my voice actors who helped me do this. I could not have done it without them, especially Diz, who literally come to save the day halfway through the series and has been a joy to work with, as well as all my other voice actors who have become my friends. Some of them have become my close friends, and we laugh and we play and we talk, and it has just been an awesome adventure with you all. And it is time for another adventure. The next one I'm going to be working on is trying to finish Drenched. If at one point October comes around, I will periodically stop and start working on A Darkened Night, because I did start that this past October and got really behind. But just know that I'm gonna really try my best now that I have everything the way I want it, and the school year was ended, so I'm gonna be recording so much and a lot, and I'm gonna have everything prepared, or that's my hope. But I really am glad you guys stuck around for the ending, and if you don't want to watch it chapter by chapter, I will be releasing a full run through of the series the best I can, and I will see you in the next series. I love you guys. Thank you so much to everybody who helped collaborate and support me and my voice actors through it all. Bye guys.